everybody, welcome to a live DIY here at Home Talk. We're going to be doing some soap making today. So if you wanted to do soap making, if you've thought about making soap, come on in, join us. Tag some friends that you think would like to make some DIY soap today. I'll introduce myself. My name's Julie. I'm a blogger over at Julie Measures, and I do crafts, DIY, recipes, all that kind of stuff. And I'm really excited to do a live DIY here at Home Talk today. So we're going to be doing a giveaway while we're demoing our project today. And that's for a Home Talk tote bag. So while we're talking about soap making, one of the great things about soap when you make it yourself is you can scent it however you would like. So if you are making soap, let me know how you would scent it. And as you're joining in today too, let me know where you're from. I'm crafting near Dallas, Texas. So hi y'all. And we'll get started. There's kind of four main types of soap making. And that is cold process soap making, hot process soap making, milling, and melt and pour, which is what we're doing here today. So I've got some supplies.
Somebody from Michigan.
Michigan.
We were just there.
So my husband's helping me out today. He's my cameraman. And yeah, we just literally went to Michigan this past weekend for the first time and had fun hanging out in Detroit. So welcome. Glad you're here.
And one from Brazil. That's my favorite.
My husband spent 2 years living in Brazil, so he can do all the Portuguese speaking for you. So I've got some shea butter. And then I've also got some glycerin soap, and you can get, this was ordered online, but you can get these just at your local national, craft supply type store. I've also got some soap dye, and when you pick up the soap dye, there's dyes for different types of bases. So like this is a shea butter soap base. And then this is our glycerin soap base. So the dye that I got is for the glycerin soap because when we melt this in a minute, it'll be clear. And then we'll add our color to it, and that's going to color our soap.
Some suggestions have been coconut, lavender, eucalyptus.
Oh, I like eucalyptus. So today I grabbed some lavender essential oils, and that's what I'm going to be adding in to my soap. So there's kind of 5 main steps for our soap making. The first is for this particular kind of soap making. I said there's several different kinds. If you've never made soap before, I'm a novice soap maker. This is going to be kind of the easiest way to start. There's no chemicals. It's really hard to mess it up. It's easy. So the first thing you need to do is go out and buy your base. For our Gemstone soaps that we're making today, you got to have the glycerin soap base. I also use the shea butter base because it gives it a more rocky look. But if you just want a gemstone, you can just get the glycerin soap base. So that's how we're starting. So step 1 is buy your base. The next step is to melt the base. So I've got a couple measuring bowls here. You can see they're kind of messy because I've prepped some soap in different stages ahead of time. I will tell you, these are not, soap making is not food safe.
I think lavender is the most popular so far.
Yeah, so keep telling me what you think. Soap making is not food safe, so they do recommend having separate supplies for this than you keep in your kitchen for food handling. So, with that out of the way, we're going to start with our shea butter. I'm going to do about...
Somebody said bergamot, but I don't know what that is.
I'll be honest, I don't know what that is either. So, you might have to give me more description. We're going to do about a 2-to-1 ratio where I want more of the glycerin soap than I want of the shea butter. And as you can see, this is a huge tub of this shea butter. It's going to last a long time. but this was ordered online in bulk, so you do not have to get this much.
Bubblegum scent.
I don't know if I've ever seen a bubblegum scent. That is intriguing. I bet my kids would love that. I like lavender as kind of a go-to just because it's relaxing, but...
That's very popular.
So I've got some of my shea butter in here, and I'm going to hand it off to my cameraman to have him go. This is going to go in the microwave, and if you've ever done like melting chocolates, it's the same technique. Pop it in the microwave for 30 seconds, and then we'll stir it, and then it'll go back in for 30 more seconds. My microwave, because we're at my house, is in the other room, and I was kind of afraid if I brought it in here it'd be really loud, so I'm going to hand this off so that I can get microwave for 30 seconds, and we'll come over here to our glycerin soap base. So again, I said I wanted kind of a 2-to-1 ratio here where I've got more glycerin going in, just because of the way we're going to layer this in a second. So more glycerin than I've got of the shea butter. My glycerin soap is kind of marked off in cubes. It's got some predefined lines on here. So that's what I cut down, was one of those lines. And then I'm just going to cut along the other lines to make this into cubes. I mean, really, if you've ever worked with chocolate, done melting chocolates, it's a very similar method where I just want this to start. So we're going to rotate back and forth so the glycerin's going to melt. My shea butter takes longer to melt than the glycerin does. So we're stirring. It goes in the microwave for 30 seconds. It comes back. We stir. We're switching these back and forth. Okay, so to stir, these are just like wooden skewers for like kebabs or different things. I don't know. I picked them at the store one time. I used them for a million. I think I bought them for food, but they ended up in my craft box, and I have used them for all sorts of things. But they're great little for this, because then I can just throw it away when I'm done with my soap making, because it kind of, you know, they get messy. So we'll stir this up just a tad, and then I've got that stick, and the shea butter can go back to the microwave. So you can see the glycerin melted a lot more in that first go around. But there are still some, you know, big chunks. Again, it's very much like melting chocolate, where it melts some, you know, in the microwave, but then you pull it out and you stir it, and that kind of gets it melting some more as well. So I'm just stirring along here. I don't have to be holding this up. These will get very hot, so be careful. If you're doing, the melt and pour is great because it is so easy, you can do it with kids, but I would suggest definitely that an adult handle this portion when you're melting it, because it can get very hot, and you don't want anybody to get burned. So that's going to go for another 30 seconds. We've got our shea butter, and you can tell it's gotten a lot more melty this time than it was the first time. So I want to keep stirring that and encouraging it to melt. I know you can't see super close up at the moment, but this is a much more, it looks much more oily, much more like melted butter, as the name might suggest. It looks like butter looks like I'm melting butter. That's exactly what it looks like as I'm stirring this. And we're not going to add any coloring to this base. It's going to provide the opaque stone look that goes with our gem. So this needs 30 more seconds, and that should be good. And our glycerin is all nice and completely melted. So, and I've got, you know, the two different stirrers, so I'm not mixing that right now, but Yeah, that is completely melted. There's steam coming off of it. It's hot, so be careful. Alright, so then I have my different soap colors. These came just like this in this set of 3 colors. I've got, it says sky blue, teal green, and purple. I have a 7-year-old who is obsessed with the color green. It's his absolute favorite color. So that's what we're going to use right now is this green. So shake it up. I have had these for a while. So I do want to give it a little shake. Oh, I think my soap is back. So I'll get these finished melting. I think we're good. Yeah, I've got just a couple more tiny little bits, but as I'm stirring, they're dissolving. So I've got that all melted. Oh, this is my cat Ranger. He has come to check out the soap making. I'm sorry, baby. Have to get down. I have 2 cats who are always very interested in what I'm doing. So, all right. So here's our glycerin. I don't know if you can tell. The glycerin is clear, while the shea butter is a yellowish. And it, when it dries and hardens, it's an opaque, where my glycerin is clear. And it's going to take this color very nicely. So I'm squeezing in, I don't know, quite a bit. Maybe 10 drops or so. We'll see how that looks. So then I want to stir that.
It seems that other people have cats that mess up their crafts from time to time.
Yes. I'm kind of primarily a knitter and crocheter, and I've been really lucky that my cats are very well behaved with my yarn. I've not had any major issues with them.
Raspberry pomegranate. That's a smell.
Ooh, that sounds lovely. All right, so for I did not go out and buy soap molds. I'm just using some silicone baking molds. Again, you're going to want these separate from ones that you would actually cook with. So we kind of do these stone molds in layers. So the first layer is just the shea butter, and it's that opaque. And I just want a really thin layer on the bottom of my mold. So 1, and I'm just at 3 right now. Oh, 2. Oh, that was
Ooh, pineapple and lemongrass. And lemon basil. Anything with lemon in it.
Yes, I love lemon. All right, then you'll want to pop these into the freezer so they can harden up really quick. But, ta-da, look.
Can you use foam egg cartons?
I never have. Most of the time at the store, most soap molds are silicone, and so that's all I've ever used with the pour molds. So I don't know.
The foam ones might work better. Paper ones probably wouldn't because it would stick into the paper.
Yeah.
Silicone's great because nothing sticks to it.
Yeah, I mean, this is a liquid and it's going to absorb into what... It is really hot, so that would be a consideration with whatever you're using as a mold. I mean, it's very hot. So that first layer that we poured, which is still clear in these, if you pop it into the freezer, like a minute, then hardens, and it's this opaque thing. So then the next layer of our soap is I'm going to mix about half of my glycerin base into what's left of my butter.
Somebody said wooden soap molds, that they make those.
I have seen those. The ones that I've seen are mostly like trays. Because we're carving these into stones, I like that this is smaller, but yeah, I mean, you can definitely, I have seen the larger wooden, like, block soap molds. So, They do sell those.
Somebody asked if there was lye. They didn't see the beginning of what the ingredients are, and I think they're worried if there's lye in these soaps.
There is not lye. So we went over, there's primarily there's 4 kind of ways to make soap. Cold process, hot process, milling, and then what we're doing today is just melt and pour. So there's no lye, there's no chemicals. I'm using this glycerin soap base and some shea butter base. And all you do is melt those and pour them. So I mentioned that there's kind of 5 steps for melt and pour. The first step was buying the base. I said you can get this at a craft store. You can also order it online. The second step was to melt our base, which we did. The third step was to add any extra ingredients like the soap and our scent.
How long does it stay liquid? Is it possible that you would have to reheat?
Yes. Especially if I'm doing kind of a small batch today, just because I've got it already in the different steps. But yeah, I was actually making some of these, prepping them last night, and I did have to remelt some of my base. But you just stick it back in and stick it back in the microwave for another 30 seconds.
Chocolate.
You can actually tell this is getting a little bit thicker even as it's just sitting here. And this too is kind of congealing a little bit around the edge. The 2 bases don't always want to mix, so I'm trying to stir them up really well. But I love the, we're going for a gemstone look, and I love the color kind of coming out of like the rock. You could totally just...
Hi, Linda from Hawaii.
Hi. You could totally just do the glycerin, color it, and put it in the base, and then carve it. That comes in a minute. But by layering it, we get this opaque up to a color, which I personally like. So that's what we're doing. All right, so we poured the shea butter in the bottom. This is it if I just let it sit. To move it along, I would recommend you pop it in the freezer, which I did for these. So this is just the shea butter melted in the bottom. And now I'm adding the mix of the shea butter and about half of my glycerin. And that's going to give it, as we're moving between the colors, from that stone look that's opaque on the bottom to the top, which will just be a clear glycerin. So I would pour that. Then I would stick that back in the freezer for another minute or 2. And I'll move these.
We'd like to thank everybody who's sharing our video.
Yes, thank you so much. If you want to make soap, this is really the simplest. I mean, we're just melting. We're adding in some color, adding in some scents. If you missed it at the beginning, I asked if you are making soap at home, what scent, what essential oils you would add in to give it a good smell for your bathroom. So after this second layer, then we get these.
And a few questions about the molds again.
Okay, so these are just silicone. They're actually just baking molds, like cupcake molds. The soap making is not food safe, so try to have, go out and grab a set of these that's maybe just for crafting and that you're not going to mix food in with them. These are our steps so far. We have just the shea butter. Then this is what it looks like after the next step, and you add the combination of shea butter and glycerin. And when you let it harden, then it looks like this.
Wine scented.
Oh.
What vintage?
And then I've got my glycerin with my color and the scent added. And I'm stirring because it kind of, we talked about that as it sits and cools, even just in the jar, it can start to harden a little bit. So, and actually I'm going to pour out the rest of this just so my cup doesn't have any leftovers in it. I don't know if you can tell, but it's kind of, the last stuff coming out of the jar is very much congealing. As it's hardening while it's sitting here. Get all that out. And then usually I just take like a paper towel and kind of wipe that off the inside. Alright, so we have our steps. Shea butter mixed with glycerin. And then we're going to add just the glycerin base with our coloring in oils on the top. So get that stirred and add that. Oh.
Grapefruit and peach are new. I haven't seen those yet.
Ooh, grapefruit. I do love a citrusy smell for soap. I just think it has a real clean scent, so I would definitely be a fan of that. And then I always kind of have, I don't know, an extra spot in case you melt too much. A place to put it.
I'm just asking what you used for the color.
So this is just a, there's different dyes for different kinds of soap bases. So I used my soap dye in the glycerin base. So just check and make sure when you buy your dye, this specifically says soap making glycerin soap color, because that's the kind of base that I was dyeing. But it'll tell you what base the dye is specifically for. So I said, so this is the glycerin soap dye because I added it to, this is the glycerin soap. And you can see it's kind of white looking when it's the soap base, but then it turned clear when we melted it, and then adding the color, you get really pretty vibrant colors with this.
Some new people are asking what scent you're using.
So I used some lavender today. Nice and calming, maybe. I think it'll be really nice in my guest bathroom downstairs. I talked about, so my kit came with these 3 colors. I just did a single color. You could definitely mix colors. If you check out my website, I have done that before with these stone soaps. Mixed some of the colors together. And then for our soap that's kind of prepped in a more finished stage, I used purple because that's my birthstone, and so I thought that would be fun. But I also made these green ones here. I got a little kid who loves green, and so I thought if I put these in his bathroom, he'd think that's really fun. Just while we've been sitting here, this is starting to harden up, and you can see it's starting to get more opaque. It's kind of hard to tell in the mold there. But so those were our different steps. So we added the shea butter base first. That's going to give it a real stone look at the bottom. Then we mixed the shea butter, because that was our opaque soap base, with the glycerin. And those are going to separate out kind of a little bit as they harden. And so you're going to get some green mixed with the white, and it's going to really make it look like it's coming out of that rock. So you have the rock, you have a little bit of color, and then the top layer is just the solid color as that gemstone is coming out of the rock. We got to go to a really cool exhibit in Dallas here a few weeks ago. It was like a traveling Smithsonian exhibit with different gemstones, and it was really cool to see even like the gold, the way it grows out of
So where can you find the shea butter? Or any of this stuff, really?
So the glycerin soap I bought just at the craft store. They sell it at pretty much any national craft store chain. They do sell the shea butter there as well. And then this big tub was ordered online. My glycerin soap came in like a square, wrapped in plastic, literally. There's the clear glycerin, that's how it's labeled. And you can just get that at the craft store. And it's just the soap bases, because we talked about that this is a melt and pour It doesn't require any chemicals. You just need the soap base and your microwave to melt it. We did it like chocolate, if you've ever done candy making, where you melt the base in bursts of 30 seconds, microwave it, stir, microwave it, and then stirring helps break it down too. So once you have, going through the steps again, shea butter, then our next layer of butter and glycerin, harden it, looks like that. So these two steps, those two go together. So, whoa, see, I'm touching it. So not hardened, this is what it'll look like hardened. Then our final layer with just the glycerin on top, and these are actually already, see I can touch that, they're already, that glycerin hardens pretty quickly, but...
Honeysuckle.
Ooh, I do like honeysuckle. That reminds me of my grandma.
And coffee, those are two big ones.
Oh, coffee. My grandma had a honeysuckle tree in her property growing up. Alright, so, once, and between each layer, just pop it in the freezer. So, you'd pour this, pop it in the freezer for like a minute, pour this, pop it in the freezer, it'll harden up like this. Then you can pour the final step, pop those in the freezer, and you get our finished soap. Ta-da! And there you can very clearly see our layers. Our shea butter layer, our mixed layer, and then our glycerin layer colored right on top. So let's pop these all out of their molds for our stones. So, and then the butter does kind of, as you can see, ends up on the top a little bit.
Suggesting to use cocoa butter instead of shea butter.
Yes, you could do that. This is kind of one of those, they both are going to give you this opaque look. I just happen to have this giant tub of shea butter. So, but both can get you what you want for this. So then, to make these
frankincense is another suggestion.
Frankincense. You know, I have to tell you, I'm not sure I know what frankincense smells like. The last step then is to carve these so that they actually look like stones. And the great thing about that is there's not really a wrong way to do it. So, I've just got a knife that I don't use for eating, we talked about. Soap making is not food safe, so you might want separate utensils and items that you're doing for this than you eat with. And then you can just kind of cut to make this the stone shape that you want. So, and then I could even, like, if I want this real clear on top, I might shave off some of the top so I get a more, you can see more of my color. But just kind of faceted edges, and then I've got a fun little stone. So we can get some more of those. With the extras, because this is all just that melt and pour, see, I'm about to get really messy here. You can toss all your extra pieces into your bowl or your glass. I do recommend a glass jar for melting. And you could remelt those and pour them again. The great thing about the base is that you can reuse it. The scraps aren't waste. So you can keep playing with it and having fun with it. So let's cut another one of these up. These are just kind of because I used this triangle for this, it's just kind of make some faceted edges. That kind of makes it a diamond shape. So maybe I want to, because I used the mold that had these ridges, I might want to, you know, cut those down a little bit to make it more clean looking. But that's just kind of, you know, a fun diamond look. And again, I might clean this off just a little bit. You can move these pieces. The soap is kind of sticky. It's all sticking to my hands here. But I can save those and use them again.
Could you make it in one big piece and then cut it into little pieces?
Yes, you could. I just happen to have these little ones. But yeah, you could, if you have a big silicone mold, you could certainly do one big one and then cut it up. I'm cleaning this up here, but you know, I mean, it's really, but there's a fun little diamond one. You can have a lot of fun with making these in different shapes. If you wanted to do them as favors, you could wrap them up in some cellophane and tie them off and make a really cute, gift. So there's kind of a diamond shaped one. If I wanted them smaller, you know, I could cut this in half, and then I could kind of slice off each end and have a couple different ones. You could put these in, you know, the little hand soap thing in your bathroom. Some of these, ended up with more. And I usually use I also have a non-serrated knife for this, but just kind of cleaning that up a little bit. But, you know, if you want a longer, anything that you think is stone-shaped, you can really just let your imagination go with that. And any color, so these that I made, you know, last night were this purple color. We did the green earlier. You can do all different kinds of scents. I love you guys have had so many good suggestions for scents today. Let's see. I don't know if these are quite. It's almost done. So you can see our layers here. It's still a little bit squishy in there as it flicks on me. But so those 3 steps. So now I'm sitting here all messy, but just to go over it again. The melt and pour, really, if you want to get into soap making, this is the best way to do it. You just buy the bases, pour them into your molds. You can use little molds. They've got big block molds. Any shape. I saw some at the store the other day that were, you know, they have all sorts of summer ones that I've seen right now, like seashells and things. If you have a theme for your bathroom and you just want to pour some soap that matches the color and matches the decor of your bathroom, grab some glycerin soap base, melt it, add the color that fits your bathroom, pour it into a mold that goes with your theme, and you got custom-made soap for your bathroom at a fraction of a price probably that you could purchase it. The stones are fun. I said my birthday's in February. I have an amethyst birthstone, so that's kind of why I went with purple for that. Just a fun little, a gemstone gift. If you've got a girlfriend with a birthday and she loves stones, you know, make her some soap in her birthstone. It could be a really fun gift, or if you're having a party, they make great party favors. If you're hosting an event at your house, I mean, have some soap that goes with your theme. You can have so much fun with this. It's really easy. You can do it with your kids.
Can you actually use this soap? Or is it just for show?
You can use this soap. And I thought I had printed out a thing. One of the thoughts with kind of the glycerin soap is that it it's thought to keep your skin moisturized and not dry you out. So yeah, you can definitely use the soap. It's not just for show. It is useful as well.
Barbara's asking if you used essential oils or hydroscents.
I used essential oils in mine that are whatever, safe to use on your skin. And I only used a couple drops. So yeah, I did use essential oils, and it's. You can smell these. Yeah.
I can smell them, and I'm way back here.
I've been stuffed up. You don't have to add scents if you don't want to, if you're sensitive to that. But it is a fun way to personalize it and add just something extra to it. It doesn't change the way that the soap hardens or anything. We talked about the 5 different steps for our finished product. We've done all of them today. We have our base. we melted our base, we added our extra scents and colors, we poured the soap, we let it harden. That's pretty much it. That's all you need to make soap. Those 5 easy things. And then we added kind of a little complication to it in that we did it in layers and cut it up and made it look like stone. But really, those 5 steps: supplies, melt, any extras, so really number 3 is kind of optional. Pour the soap, let it harden. You do those 5 things and you have your own homemade custom choice of colors and scent soap. So thank you so much for coming out and crafting with me today. It's a little bit different. For our giveaway winner, you guys had so many great ideas. I think that I'm going to have to go with frankincense. So, there you go. If that was your comment, we'll get in touch with you about your Home Talk tote bag. So, congratulations. Thanks all of you for providing me with some great scent ideas that I don't think I'd ever thought of before. I now know all my girlfriends who like wine, I think, are about to get maybe some wine-scented soaps, because that could be really fun for a girls' night. If you are interested in knitting or crocheting, I mentioned that that's kind of a passion of mine. Make sure to check out my Facebook page. I do knit and crochet videos weekly. It's really not hard, I promise. If you can make soap with me, you can knit with me. We can do this. I'll convert you. You'll become obsessed with yarn as well. So make sure to hit the subscribe button at the end of this broadcast so you don't miss any other amazing Home Talk Live DIYs. They have them very often and they're always fantastic. Home Talk is back tonight at 7 p.m. So don't forget to tune in then for the next DIY Live. And thanks for hanging out. And if you have any soap making questions about what we did today, let me know. Go visit me over on my Facebook page. And we'll see you guys soon. Bye.